Welcome back to Freak Feral Goon.
To Freak Feral Goon? That's how you're opening this? This is not Freak Feral Goon. It's Aetheral Space. First of all, no one's even had sex. I don't even think we've had an on-screen kiss in this series. Toy Freak Zazie. Nothing has happened in this, I almost called it a manga, in this web serial at all. Can you even describe the raunchiest thing that's happened?
No, I don't want to.
Whoa, wait, did something happen that I missed? Every North scene?
Do you think nothing's happening during these scene transitions? Every scene fades to black.
Gulp. Later. Anyway, we're not here for Freak Space.
More sex, please.
We're here for... Jesus Christ. It's like I'm fucking recording
Only
with a 14-year-old.
you just went out the window and just said it.
Anyway, Aetheral Space 14.8 palette cleanser. 7:42. Rory the Clown had dark in his eyes, dust on his skin. Normally, the amusement automatic would dance and sing at passerby, delighting and terrifying children, interrupted every so often by a sponsor from his painted lips. Now, though, when the shopping center was closed, now he just stood there, staring off into empty space with his vapid grin, powerless and lost. Ruth could relate. She hugged her metal knees, cold to her chest as she sat before the clown, a clumsy campfire on the floor in front of her, conjured from sparks and advertisement barriers. I assume banners?
Yeah, sorry.
Anatrice Del said, the odd girl, sat next to her, poking the flames with a farball bat she'd procured from a sports goods store. Is this Ruth speaking?
No.
The key to it, she said with confidence Ruth wasn't sure she deserved. Now listen, the key to it is to make sure the fire is trained to follow your will. You might laugh at that. I would even understand it. Oh, sorry, is this still Zakos talking?
Yeah.
Let me redo this. The key to it, she said, with confidence Ruth wasn't sure she deserved. Now, listen, the key to it is to make sure the fire is trained to follow your will. You might laugh at that. I would even understand it, but that's only because you don't yet understand the world in the same fashion as I. All humans are clumps of ego flame, and we, the supermen, we are the sticks poking them, having them dance to our tune. It's quite amusing, really, for others to think they are walking by their own merit, but if only they looked up, they would see the strings of machination. It makes one want to laugh. In fact, I think I shall. Ah! Sorry, Ruth murmured, eyes fixed on the flames. But can you shut up? The adrenaline of near death was beginning to wear off, and now Ruth could feel the floor opening up beneath her. What did she do now? She had to get Bruno and Serena off of Azumha alive. She had to get herself off of Azumha alive. But what then? Her goals had turned to dust in her hands. Dragon had made it very clear he wouldn't listen to a word any of them said. Ruth wasn't even sure she wanted to give him her words anymore. The image wouldn't leave her head. Him blasting Bruno with his Gemini shotgun, the world illuminated in a flash of deadly blue. Even just thinking about it made her shake with rage. That same rage had gripped her in that moment, made her charge forward. If the Tree of Might hadn't come between her and Dragon, what would have happened next, she wondered? What would she have done with her claws? No. What would she have tried to do with her claws? Do you think they'll be okay? Oh, sorry. Who's talking now? Is this Anatrice?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be okay? Asked a soft, quiet voice from beside her. Ruth turned to look at Anatrice over the unconscious Delsaid body. The girl's body language had shifted. Now she was hugging her knees to her chest just like Ruth, and she'd stopped putting on that stupid voice. Ruth hadn't even realized it was her at first. They should be, Ruth said after a moment. I mean, they're not hurt that bad. Then why are they still asleep? Anatrice whispered, eyes half shut, staring into space. Ruth clenched her fist. What she had said wasn't wrong. Bruno and Serena weren't hurt that badly. Physically, they were probably in better shape than Ruth herself. But that was only on the outside. Look, Ruth pushed on. Once we get them out of here, we'll be able to have someone look at them. Until then, we just have to keep moving. Anatrice glanced over just for a second before looking straight ahead again. Once we escape, she murmured, once we do get out of here, what then? What then? The very question Ruth was asking herself. Where did they go after all this was done? The UAP? The Finum I assume the Final Church? When the Delseds woke back up...
Just dropped.
New faction, the Finum Church? When the Delseds woke back up, what would they want to do? What did Ruth want to do? Did she even know? Ruth opened her mouth to provide a comforting answer to the girl. I don't know. But that was all she could manage. I'll show you. I'll show you that people can be good. That they're not how you think. Ruth's lips twisted into a complicated line as she remembered the careless words she'd given Dragon back in the Heart Building. Again, she couldn't help but think. She hadn't shown Dragon a thing, had she? She'd failed, and everything that was happening now, everything they were going through, was all because of her failure. Hell, did she even believe those words anymore? Honestly, knowing Ruth's backstory, I'm surprised she said that in Arc 1.
She's optimistic.
I'll show you that people can be good. Watched my friend's dad burn her alive.
Not every person is good. I mean, everyone's good. That guy's bad.
Was used by resistance fighters for her powers. Was anyone good in her life aside from Skipper, kind of?
Skipper.
Hey, Peter. I gotta go change the shape of this world.
Yeah. I'll come with you, Skipper.
Was that Old North? North's dad, South. 7:50. Appointment waited.
Well, if you think about it, North's ability is basically, hey, Dragon, remember that time we were in the cathedral at the end of the world?
Hey, Dragon. Flashbacks. 7:50. Appointment waited. It wasn't anything new for him. Most of the bounty hunting business, if you knew what you were doing, was waiting for your opportunity. Those bounty hunters who charged in didn't remain bounty hunters for long. Often they found themselves moving over to the carcass industry. Flying high in the air above the Alan Grace Memorial Shopping Center, Appointment inspected the surrounding area. His visor was powerful enough that he could read the spiderweb of streets beneath him like he was standing there himself, down to the specks of dust swimming through the air. Ruth Blaine was confirmed at the shopping center, but when would the others be arriving at this rendezvous point? He couldn't see any sign of the targets or a toy Muzazi yet, but if the intel Anduin had sold him was accurate, this was where they'd all be meeting up. Appointment did not doubt the cannibal's intel. Despite his debilitating aethertic, Anduin was a former Ultraviolet, part of the UAP's intelligence service. If you caught him at a good moment, you could find him quite reasonable. It was just a shame that the cannibal had been especially reasonable today. And so, Appointment was not alone in his vigil. In the shadows inside buildings, inside the dark mouths of alleyways, he could see them. Drones from the hive of Malkuth, lurking unseen, waiting for worthwhile prey to appear. There were only a few drones present right now, but Appointment knew that the hive covered some high-level transportation abilities. If the need truly arose, the hive could be here in full force almost instantly. There were others, too. Remnants from the Crimson Carnival that had drifted here like flotsam. Is it flotsam or flotsam?
I think flotsam.
Flotsam. Appointment caught them watching the shopping center with his distant gaze. They weren't quite as hidden or as skilled as they probably assumed. The Guardian Entity technique they used was somewhat interesting, but Appointment wasn't terribly concerned about them as rivals. Funnily enough, as former subordinates of Nail Mandarin, they had their own bounties. Nothing huge, but enough to buy birthday presents with. Rachel would be turning 15 this year, and Josiah 9. Easy pickings weren't to be scoffed at. Still, you could never be too careful. Appointment had his chassis computers begin compiling all the information on the Carnival's members that it could access. If he was going to be stuck here waiting, he might as well get some light Stop! Appointment said quickly, audible only within his suit. Enhance! His visor zoomed all the way in on the designated spot, a nondescript street corner, but as he'd half expected, it was empty. It wasn't often that his senses played tricks on him. Had they played a trick on him? What had he thought he saw? He wasn't quite certain. But he thought he'd seen something like a black dog sitting there. Swallowing back his unease...
Did you see it?
Back then, why did I have to go and see the black dog?
It's like a red circle.
Swallowing back his unease, Appointment cracked his neck. With a barely audible beep, his weapon switched to low power mode, maintaining only the basic auto defenses. Light-bending camouflage concealed him against the rising sun. Azum Ha had 20-hour days, which meant he was approaching the halfway mark for his ability. Oh, wait, how the fuck is the day, month, year time system work?
Don't worry about it too much. There's a way, but I'm not getting into it right now.
Did you just make this up to save yourself 4 hours of trouble?
No.
How many hours are daylight?
It's around, around 9 or so.
Wow, it's mostly nighttime on Azumha?
By like 2 hours, yeah.
Fuck. I guess, is it just because it's winter?
Yeah, sure it is.
Guy who has not thought about a fucking thing. There's nothing in that head of his. I love it.
What do you mean? I'm bouncing all these plot lines and characters. What do you mean I'm not thinking? I don't give a shit about the weather.
Past 20 o'clock. Do
It
they
rains
not call,
when it's cool.
do they not still call it midnight then, or is midnight just the 20-hour mark?
Well, this is specifically for Atom Highs. Not every planet has a 20-hour day.
Oh, maybe he does think.
Well, yeah, of course I think it wasn't a universal constant.
But Azumha Common Time uses Azumha's time and calendar?
Yes.
Okay. Azumha had 20-hour days, which meant he was approaching the halfway mark for his ability. Past 20 o'clock, he'd be just as powerless as a normal human. Well, a normal human in a state-of-the-art armored chassis, but still not ideal. It was tempting to let that time limit drive him to haste, but no. Appointment had never known a bounty hunter who had lived a long life by rushing things. He would stand in the sky, and he would wait for the moment he needed. As his visor snapped back into focus, zooming in on two figures limping through the back streets, Appointment smiled thinly. There you are, a toy Musashi. 7:54. Are we being followed? Musashi asked, holding his sign as he dragged himself across the courtyard, his face slick with sweat. Definitely, Rufus grunted, holding his shield out protectively as the two of them made their way towards the entrance. We've got plenty of eyes on us, but they won't do shit yet. Musashi raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? If they knew they were walking into a trap, then why were they still walking? First, if they think we're meeting our buddies here, Rufus explained, then they'll wait for our buddies to show up before doing anything. They want to hit the jackpot, you know, greedy bastards. And second? Musashi asked, leaning against the shutters as they reached the sealed front doors. Like I said, Rufus smirked, crouching down to grab hold of the shutters. They're greedy bastards. None of them want the other guys to get the payout, so the first one to make a move will have everyone else on their ass instantly. Mutually assured destruction, right? Right. Musashi said that, but no. A battle as pointless as that was beyond his comprehension. Was it? The shutters slowly creaked open, and Musashi thought. The rivers of blood he'd seen on Elysian fields, the hills of corpses, the legions slaughtered for the sake of points that in the end had amounted to nothing. What gave that battle more meaning than this one? At least tonight there was money on the line, actual money that one could reach out and touch. He felt sick, and as he passed into the darkness of the shopping center, he couldn't help but wonder, when will all this stupid fighting stop? Will it ever stop?
I can't believe this. Musashi is no longer based in Supremacy Pelt.
Oh my god, shut up. He's a character. He's not a beta. Never call him that again.
He used to
Silence.
be a Musashi male.
Why don't you shut your honky mouth right now? And let me read the story. 8:01. Jimilu's foot slammed into the side of the motorcycle, and a moment later it flared into life, hovering over the ground to receive its passengers. Nebula too mounted the vehicle, swinging his head around to face Morgan. Get on. I'm surprised, Morgan said, climbing on the bike behind Jimilu. I thought that little move only worked in the videographs. You'd be surprised. Did he do the fucking Akira slide?
He did. Well, no, he slammed his foot into it and it turned on.
That rules.
The Jotaro maneuver.
The bike took off, swooping out of the alley and into the river of traffic. Jamilu's eyes narrowed as he weaved through cars and trams. The streets transformed into smears of color as they made their way to their destination. Night had fully blossomed into morning now, and a newborn sun illuminated their journey as they rode. So, Morgan said, squinting against the air pressure, mind if I ask you a question? Go ahead. Why are you guys saving us? Jamilu was silent for a moment. Then he opened his mouth to answer, but Morgan continued before he could do so. Don't get me wrong, the New Moon said. You guys are nice enough. I mean, you're not assholes, but I can't see you going out of your way like this just to be nice. At least, I can't see the UAP top brass letting you do that. Jamilu's hands tightened around the handlebars. He sighed. If you must know, he replied, Atoy Musashi demanded we save you as well, or he wouldn't allow us to evacuate him from the planet. And why are you evacuating him? I won't lie, Jimilu said solemnly. The UAP hopes to use Atoy Musashi for political purposes. There's already controversy about the new Supreme, his methods of victory. They hope to stir dissent by presenting a more honorable candidate, perpetually out of the Supreme's reach. Morgan closed his eyes. More honorable, huh? Jamilu glanced back at him. You don't agree? No, I do. It's just, I don't know that anyone else will. The way the contest ended, Muzazi stealing Aklama's position, then confessing to killing Cadman. To anyone else, he probably doesn't look very honorable right now. That's my fault. Jamilu spoke quietly, barely audible over the engine. How so? I wanted Muzazi to win, Morgan sighed. I thought he'd make a better Supreme than anyone else, so I pushed him. I pushed him to win using whatever means possible. The proxy law, stealing from Aklama, that was me. If it wasn't for me, he would never have done that. I'm an asshole, huh? I wanted to pull him up, but I've just thrown him all the way down. It's a bad joke. They swooped down, sliding between two buses as they descended through the roadways towards Grip District. I won't deny that your tactics have damaged Muzazi, Jamilu said mercilessly, but I wouldn't say that damage is irreparable. And besides, any dishonor Muzazi has accumulated in the dark is nothing compared to what the Supreme has done out in the open. In a contest of virtue, a toy Muzazi would win, I'll tell you that right now. Morgan scoffed. Trying to cheer me up? Hardly, Jamilu said. I'm not that kind. I just... Enough of this bullshit! Just imagining you in your fucking angry voice. Groaned a grimy, gravelly voice coming from the Crimson Spear in Jamilu's back. How about I tell you how it really is, brat? Jamilu's nostrils flared, even as his gaze remained fixed on the road. Silence. Silence yourself. You've got no way of stopping me from talking, you little shit. How about it, Noct? You want a dose of reality, you supremacist cunt? Morgan swallowed as he looked down at the spear, noticing the faint pink aura that swayed around it. This was something out of legends he was looking at, hearing an old demon of the dawn. A hero of antiquity crushed into a monstrous diamond by the pressures of an endless war. Just looking at it prodded some basic instinct in the back of his mind, some base and animal terror. Still he answered. Go ahead, he said, with more confidence than he felt. Don't indulge it, Jamilu snapped, but it was too late. You think your guy was really going to change anything? Victory laughed. Why? Because he's so nice? Because he swings a sword so pretty? You stupid fuck! They should have aborted you. How many Supremes have there been now? 5? 6? Every one of them has been the same. Even when they think they're different, they're the same. You know why? 5 or 6? Morgan furrowed his brow. Ignore it! Jamilu sighed as they turned a corner. As a spirit's mental capacity is limited, it has limited comprehension of the world. Victory ignored the insult, speaking still to Morgan. You know why, brat? It repeated. No. Morgan looked away. No, I guess I don't. You gonna tell me? Because it's all the same bullshit under the skin. All the same bullshit veins and bullshit bones. If the sword's calling the shots, what does it matter which asshole is holding it? Morgan had no response to that, and so he gave none. Yeah, that's what I thought. Go fuck yourself! Swallowing back his discomfort, Morgan looked back up at Jamilu, changing the subject, but destroyed by facts and logic. Do you know what happened to the others? The others? The other phases. Jamilu thought for a moment. I did some investigation while Muzazi was unconscious. Gregory Hazard and Ashdel Duran are missing. They haven't been seen since the end of the Dawn contest. Same with Anya Hapgrass and Endo Silversaint. Don't you worry about them, Morgan muttered. From what I've been told, Marcus Grace fled the planet during the last match of the contest. He's probably on his way to the Grace estate on Perk Isle. And Ionir Yggdrasil, well, my condolences. Morgan quietly nodded. The night had been so hectic, so active. It was as if he'd managed to run ahead of his grief for a while, and only now was it actually catching up. Ionir was gone. Ionir, who had saved his life. Ionir, who had been part of him. Ionir, his friend. Morgan took a deep breath. He couldn't let it catch him now. For the time being, until they were safe, he had to keep running. Safe. Huh? Do you think they'll go for us? Morgan asked as they swerved around a corner. The bounty hunters. Your driving is hardly keeping a low profile. Our faces are known all across Azumha, Jamilu said simply. Low profiles are no longer possible for us. Besides, the banquet isn't an official occasion. During the day like this, the hunters have to be careful of law enforcement just like usual. They wouldn't risk attacking us in a public. Jamilu cut himself off. 1 second, Morgan was sitting behind Jamilu on the motorcycle. The next, he was up in the air, grabbed by the scuff of his collar by his companion, and the motorcycle was a fiery explosion beneath them. It had been slapped out of the air by a massive, spectral hand, a hand that had squirmed out of a nearby billboard as if being birthed by it. The two landed on a neighboring balcony, and immediately Morgan flared his aether. F.A.! Black fog poured out of his palms, coalescing into a smoke sword that he grasped tight. It wouldn't be as effective as an actual weapon, but at least with this he could defend himself. Oh, shit. Yoo-hoo! Morgan's head snapped up, and he saw the person that had attacked them. A young woman in a black leotard, gulp, sitting cross-legged atop another spectral hand that sprouted from the rooftop opposite. She stood up, dusting off her legs as she strolled across its palm. Reaching the edge, she leaned forward, holding onto the raised thumb for support. "It is!" she smiled. "It really is! Morgan knocked, right? This is our first time meeting! Isn't that great?" Morgan gripped his sword tighter. "And you are?" She grinned excitedly. "I'm the Sixth Dead, sweetie, but you can call me Six if you like. I'm so surprised, though. To think you'd just be driving around in the open like nothing's even happening? Is there a reason for that, or are you just stupid?" It was just as Jamilu had said.
Is there a lore reason?
Is there a lore reason? No sane bounty hunter would choose to launch a brazen attack like this in public. No sane bounty hunter. But Morgan could see the woman's eyes from here. Those weren't eyes he wanted getting any closer to him. Slowly, he adjusted his footing, sword raised. "So, you're here to cash in?" Morgan called across the street. "That's your reason for being here, right?" The Sixth Dead put a finger to her lips. "I guess, technically you could say that. But no, actually, I'm here for the sake of love." Morgan frowned. Love? That he hadn't expected. "Love," the Sixth Dead sighed, putting her hands over her heart and twirling dreamily, nearly falling from the hand in the process. "It's what makes the world go around, you know. I'm on my way to my first date with a toy Musashi, if you must know. I know it's a little presumptuous to say it's love at this point, but they say you've got to dress for the job you want, right? It's the same sort of principle. I want a toy Musashi more than anything else in this world. He's like my father and my husband all rolled into one. I mean, who wouldn't go crazy for that, right? Everyone needs true love. Everyone needs a needle pinning them against the world. It's the same for you, right? You hang out with a toy Musashi all the time, don't you? Don't try to hide it, you little homewrecker, you. I'm on my way to my first date and I need flowers. For flowers, I need fertilizer. You'll do. Don't you think Musashi would prefer a scent that's close to home? You would know, right? You've spent so much— "Damn, bitch!" said Victory. "You really like to yap, huh?" The Sixth Dead blinked. "Excuse me?" Jamilu did not waste another moment. In one smooth motion, he pulled Victory from its back and hurled it at the Sixth Dead, pink aether tracing a trail through the air. For her part, the Sixth Dead just giggled, cocking her head to the side and allowing the spear to sail right past her. "Ooh, you know how to kill too, don't ya?" she said. "But I think my aim is a little better." Jamilu said nothing in response. He just closed his fist, and Victory began the journey home. Apart from its main three abilities, Victory had some secondary functions as an aether armament. Most of those Jamilu couldn't access, but this one, Automatic Return, had come in handy many times over the years. With just a thought, Jamilu's weapon would return to his hand, even if someone else's head was in the way. He saw the realization on the Sixth Dead's face, the sharp intake of breath, the widening of the eyes as she realized that blade was aimed at the back of her skull, was coming for the back of her skull. With Victory's speed in this distance, there wasn't enough time to dodge. Jamilu wasn't cocky enough to think he could kill this woman with his first attack, but her response would show him what to watch out for. Purple aether poured down the Sixth Dead's legs, spreading out into the rooftop beneath her, and a second later it activated. Excuse me. Sorry, one sec. Sorry, air in my mouth. Ugh. And a second later it activated. Countless purple arms burst out from the concrete, a veritable forest of severed limbs, young and old, long and short, sharp and soft, grabbing hold of the demon spear and halting its path. Within a few seconds it was wrapped between so many spectral fingers that it wasn't even visible anymore. "I see. Her ability creates phantom limbs that can grab and manipulate objects. How strong are they? How durable? It's best to test these things." Jamilu had not sent Victory out alone. Before hurling the spear, he had smeared it with some of the blood from his wounded hand, priming it for this counter-move. With a single spark of aether, he activated the ability. Calamity! Pink flames erupted from the spear, and severed fingers of all shapes and sizes flew in every direction. As the inferno washed over the Sixth Dead, cutting her cry of surprise short, Jamilu swung his head around to face Morgan. He didn't have to say much. "Run!" Ooh, spicy chapter. That was... I'm not gonna lie, you got me with that. Damn, bitch. That's pretty good. I forgot Tanhoney hates women, but sometimes he's funny as well.
Victory is my self-insert, according to you, then?
Yeah, victory is your self-insert. That is correct. Okay. Let me... There it is. Aetheral questions. Where did I...
Damn, Jamila, you've been eating too much soy.
Shut up. Oh my god. MT asks, if the dead started around 200 years ago, when Skipper said he met the second dead, was that before he went in the soup?
It would have been, yes.
Ooh. Wiser than you asks. Also, if the killing everyone who met or knew a previous dead thing is mostly exclusive to the sixth, why was the fifth dead so hostile to Skipper's mention of the second?
Well, they usually don't like it, still, but they don't, go as homicidal about it.
Right. Rock Shark said, speaking of the second dead, didn't he also fight Cadman? If he wasn't a bounty hunter then, how did Cadman know how strong he was to seek him out?
Well, he intervened in a fight Cadman was doing during his long march of the Supreme.
Oh.
Or is that I don't remember which it's called. I'm the one who fucking made it.
Sobek asks, how old was Morgan when he met Wu Ming?
He would have been a teenager.
How old is Morgan now?
He's, in his mid-20s.
Oh. Lan asks, did Cadman need to know the person, or would a parasocial relationship work with Badge of Honor? Example, if he was a Dragon mega fan.
For Cadman specifically, he would need some sort of either a bond of loyalty or some sort of bond between them, or a similarity beyond a certain percentage in terms of personality.
Interesting.
So it does have to be, for the bond method, it does have to be a mutual bond of some sort.
Okay. I gotcha. So Greeny asks, so bounty hunting as a career in the Supremacy makes sense, might equals right, but how do they work in the UAP?
Well, it's the
law,
criminals,
right?
so...
Yeah, the criminals. Okay.
It's like the scene in Star Wars where all the bounty hunters are there. It's like, we don't need their scam.
Alright, and then I'll leave off here. Alright, well, everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye-bye.